Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today, after the day job, I am off to check out the new romantic comedy, The American Society of Magic Negroes. Yeah, I know, it doesn't sound much like a romantic comedy, but just wait. So it tells the story of a young man who finds out he has magical powers. And what are those magical powers? He has the magical ability to keep white folk calm. Believe me, it's a very good power to have. This film plays on a trope with romantic comedies, where 9 times out of 10 an African-American character in the film is mostly just there to help the character along, the main character along in their story. They're never, or very rarely, the main character of the story. So that's what this is doing. It's kind of turning that whole idea on its ear and making a little bit of fun and having some parody time and all that good stuff with it. Well, enough of me sitting here yammering. It is time for me to get out the door because I got work to do, and then I'm off to check out the American Society of Magical Negroes. Welcome back, just getting home, and you know what guys, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was pretty funny, and I had a pretty good time watching it. So let's get this started, shall we? We're going to get things started with the negatives, and then move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. The first negative that I'm going to point out about this film is the fact that there is a lot going on in this movie. And I'm not just talking about issues and messages that it's trying to portray. I'm talking about plot lines. There is a lot going on here. You have the society, you have the main character, Justice Smith, you have his love interest, you have his client, so on and so forth. And each one of those characters kind of has their own plot line in their involvement in the main character's life. And unfortunately, because of this being a film with a 2-hour or so runtime, we never really get to see some good chemistry or fleshed out relationships between basically the main characters. You don't really get to see a very solid budding romance, in my opinion, between the main character and the love interest. You do not get to see a really well-defined growing friendship between Justice Smith and the his client. But what you do get is a really great mentor-student relationship between Justice Smith and David Alan Grier, who plays his teacher. Those two together were great, and I feel like a film like this, trying to tackle so much, really should have been a TV series, in my opinion. Maybe a 12-episode Netflix series or something like that, where all of these things could have been fleshed out. All of these different elements of this film could have gotten more time to grow. We could have learned more about the society, how Justice Smith and all the magical powers work, get to see the actual budding relationship between the characters and so on and so forth. I think this film was really just hurt by its runtime, and if a lot of these elements could have been fleshed out, this could have been a lot more solid experience. The film's third act also lags. It just seems to kind of slow down for a bit in the third act. The movie tries to figure out how it's going to wrap things up, and then we get to that moment. It just kind of seems slow, and you're just kind of wanting it to get over with at that point. It's not a terrible thing. You're getting to the end of the story, but it just seems like it just kind of muddles its way, up to the ending, and then gives a really solid wrap-up to everything. But just the beginning of that third act, things really start to drag down. The first and second act are great. When you have the moments where there's some really great comedy moments when they're discussing things about the society and things of that sort. But yeah, right there at the beginning of the third act, things really seem to slow down. Now let's move into the positives. Now, I did say one of the things in this film that I really enjoyed was the chemistry between Justice Smith and David Alan Grier's characters, and to be perfectly honest, I kind of wished it was more about the two of them than anything else. I really liked seeing those two on screen together. I was looking forward to more moments with those two characters than with the love interest of the story. Not that those characters were bad, not that the acting was bad, I just didn't feel like those characters were fleshed out nearly as well as the other two. And so I really enjoyed the chemistry and the performances of those two actors. The comedy in this movie is on point. The jokes landed pretty good. There wasn't a lot of people in the audience when I went and saw the film, but with the people who were there were responding, were laughing. There are some great moments. The film has some parody moments. It has some great, it spoofs on some other films. There's some really good, solid comedy to be had here. It takes some very tough subjects and adds a little bit of levity to them to really kind of make it a bit more palatable. This is kind of one of those movies that when you're driving home, you're going to have a conversation with somebody, maybe just yourself, but whoever the person you went and saw the film with, you're definitely going to be talking about this film on the ride home. And that's something I like. I love a movie that can open up discussion between people. So guys, in my opinion, I think this is a solid get out there and check it out in the theaters film. I definitely think it's worth your time and you are going to get some enjoyment out of this movie. So with that being said, folks, that brings us to the end of another Film Geek video. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.